Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions Daily. Today in the chair we have, on their return, is Tim Jordan and also Norm Ferrer with us. We're just waiting on Liran Hirschkorn. Today is, of course, Roundup Wednesday. What's going on and off Amazon over the past week or so. Gentlemen, how you doing? Do you want to, we'll just quickly go around the room first. Tim, would you like to introduce yourself?
I never know what to say when someone says introduce yourself. My name's Tim. I like long walks on the beach and beautiful sunsets.
Excellent. And Norm, do you like long walks on the beach and beautiful sunsets as well?
I like taking them with Tim.
You like to go together? That's nice. That is very, very nice. I'm trying to do two things at once, but being a guy, that's a real struggle from time to time. We've got messages coming. Owen Burrows, hey guys, Wednesday already. Yeah, I know, I'm losing fucking day of the week. I have to write it down just to kind of work out where we are. Andrew, hi all as well. Hope you guys are well. We're just letting people coming into the room now. Let's have a look who is on the call. Give him some shout outs. Qasim's back. How you doing? Oxy, hope you're well. Good to chat this morning. Ben Valence, of course, is here as well. Just let a few more to come on board. So in all seriousness, although you like to go hand in hand walking down the beach, for that, Ricky, welcome. Herb's here as well. Qasim's here saying hello. Hello, Herb. How you doing? Little bit of background on yourself. Elchin's here. Who else is here? Good to see you, Norm Ferrer. Tulse, pronounce that for me. I always butcher people's name. Is that Tulsif? Is that right? Have I got it right?
That's yeah, he's from UR Tasker.
Okay. Martin's here. Afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon to you as well. Oh yeah, I've met Tulsif before. We it was in Amsterdam at the PPC event put on by Augustus. We met there. All right. Okay, so should we get things underway? Patricia says hello from New Zealand. Patricia, what time is it there? It must be, I think you're 8 to 11 hours in front. Can't remember exactly. Let us know what time it is there. Saddam has joined us. Matt is joined us. Hope you're well, Matt. Ricky's joined us, as I said. Who else have we got here? Liran will be with us shortly, but let's get into it. So, Norm, what's going on in the world of Amazon this week? Blimey, Patricia, it's 3 a.m. there. You are dedicated. Thank you so much.
Oh, jeez.
So, Norm, before Patricia goes off to sleep, what does she need to know what's happening this week on Amazon?
All right. Well, there's a bunch of little things that are happening. One major. And that's their first employee died of COVID yesterday.
Wow.
And they announced that they're doing all these new safety precautions, more than what they were doing before, including they're building their own lab to test all these employees.
Right.
Yeah, I just saw that. But their stock hit 1.1 trillion, not too bad.
Yeah.
They're adding another 75,000 people. And how's that going to affect Amazon sellers? We're going to be able to start sending out more and more non-essential products. They announced that I think it was yesterday that new or non-essential products will have they're going to temporarily start to build it, depending how things roll out. And that's going to lead to something that they announced, Prime Day. Prime Day is going to be happening in August, they think.
Yes.
You can start preparing. Like, June, some sellers are going to be back on. July, they're saying most sellers are going to be back on. Well, we talk about this all the time. Get ready for Prime Day. Well, this is a great time if you're slow to get that going. So let me see. The other cool thing, this is something I heard from Chris McCabe, is that if you're donating product, if you're a suspended seller and you put together a plan of action and you're donating or citing that you're donating, or and you'll have to prove it, and you're suspended, you're going to you will most likely get reinstated. But like we talked about, that could be used for the the other side.
It could be absolutely,
Yeah.
it could be absolutely abused. Could you imagine it? Like literally every plan of action that arrives in there, there's going to be like that little boilerplate at the bottom. Oh, by the way, we're donating X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. So Alan Gordon's joined, Juan's joined, Sama Brax is joined. Hey, Sama, how you doing? Mikkel is there, Luann, Gloria, and Tiff is back. How you doing, Tiff? Morning, everyone, for those over in New Zealand and Australia as well. Going over, Tim, top line, what's some of the stuff you're seeing? And then what we do is we'll go back round and we'll start to unpick this stuff as well.
Yeah. Still, there's a lot of news that I think on surface level appears to be bad, but it's actually good. Like let's go all the way back to the biggest shakeup in Amazon in the past 6-8 weeks was when they stopped allowing products to be shipped in. The reason wasn't that they were sending all their employees home. At the time, they announced they were hiring 100,000 new warehouse workers, now another 75,000. The truth is e-commerce has boomed. Like they can't keep up with the demand. That's why they had to slow things up. Yeah. So the result is not necessarily, preferable for us, but long term, it shows that there's big boost. Yeah. Another bad headline that came out was that Amazon was asking affiliates to stop pumping traffic to Amazon. And it didn't happen. They kept pumping it. So yesterday, the day before, I think I saw some headlines where Amazon affiliate commissions were being tanked, going from 4% to 1% or 6% to 2%. And that's brutal if that's your income. But I talked to some insiders that said that they anticipate that to be temporary. What they're trying to do is de-incentivize affiliates to keep pumping traffic to Amazon because they cannot handle demand right now. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry sitting on their couch at home buying crap online. I was talking to Melissa Simonson last night before bed chatting about something, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm bored shopping on Amazon." She's like, "Isn't everybody in the world?" Like, that's what's happening. So just, I'm kind of noticing this correlation this week of a lot of times what seems to be bad news is just a temporary negative result of overall good news.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's take it back to Prime Day, because obviously that in the calendar, that's obviously that's normally midsummer. It's July. I think, what did they say about Prime Day was actually designed for that quarter. Amazon has to return to their investors, right? There was nothing going on. And then Prime Day become this thing because the summer, most of the time, is just shit, right? Because they're waiting for Q4. Q2 normally performs well. Supplements and dietary elements will do in Q1. So that Q3 is generally the worst quarter of the year. So they came up with Prime Day, which is obviously a big benefit to Amazon sellers. People plan their diary around that, Q4, and of course Black Friday and Cyber Monday. What do people need to do now to start preparing for Prime Day if they imagine, okay, this is going to be the new date, it's not going to be July, we're looking at August? What should people be doing? Start with you, Norm.
Inventory.
Yes.
Yeah, I would definitely be looking at inventory, how you can get it in. You may want to consider like talking to a freight forwarder about split shipping. Mm-hmm. If your product's on the water, we don't know how fast Amazon's going to bring things in. I'm sure it's going to be pretty much back to normal by then. Yeah, I would think. But just in case, be prepared to ship. Get your shipping costs down. And make sure you calculate that into your margins. Take a look at your pricing. I'm always big on perceived value, and can you get your pricing? Can you bring your pricing up during that time period between now and then? Just by doing some small things. It might be flying in some packaging and repackaging if you can do it, or if you're just getting something shipped, see if you can increase. We're doing that right now with a couple of our clients. We're just redesigning their packaging. Instead of like a plastic clamshell, we're putting the stuff in a EVA foam in a nice box, spending a few cents on it, but it's all about perception. And if we've got time to plan for it now, why not?
Yeah, makes sense. Lee Rand's here joining the call. Hello, Lee Rand. How you doing?
Hello. Hi. How are you? Good.
Yeah.
Hey.
Good. We're just unpicking some of the stuff that's taken place this week. We were just talking about Prime Day and the delay to August now. Tim, do you want to give your thoughts on it? And Lee Rand, it gives you a chance to catch up and then give your thoughts on what should people do in preparation for Prime Day if it has been indeed delayed up to a month.
Yeah, going back to what Norm said about supply chain, also keep in mind that customs seems to be extremely slow right now. They went on like a 2-week vacation in China, from Chinese New Year. And then right behind that, we had the basically manufacturing and shipping shut down in China for a month. So we've got 2 months of stuff stacked up that everybody's trying to ship right now. And because the Customs and Border Patrol is a government agency, they're slowing down right now, right? They're not working at full capacity. So don't just worry about shipping time. Also worry about customs and import time because that's pretty big. One positive thing is everybody I'm talking to in China is dying for work. They're ready to go. They're back open for business. Like I'm having sourcing people and suppliers that I haven't talked to in 3 years are messaging me now on WeChat. Hey, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? So the truth is they're ready to roll. They're ready to go. They're chomping at the bit. And that gives us some leverage. It gives us some opportunities. That means that they're more likely to help us out with terms, with pricing, with faster production times. So I'm not saying take advantage of your suppliers, but they're willing to give more probably than they would have been 6 or 8 months ago, just because they're dying for the work and ready for it. So reach out. There are a lot of suppliers with products that, 8 months ago, a year ago, I wasn't really interested in because maybe the price is too high or the MOQ is too high. I didn't get excited about it. I've now started this morning making a list of who I'm going to go back to and say, hey, let's revisit this again. Can the price be a little lower? Can the MOQ be lower? And the Chinese government, you're not seeing a lot of news coming out of China right now. I don't know if that's because China's not putting out news or our news is just so inundated with local COVID stuff. But the Chinese government is giving a lot of grants and a lot of subsidies to Chinese manufacturers. And a lot of those manufacturers are now passing on those price breaks from raw materials to labor costs. So your prices could be significantly lower in China than you're used to them being. Yeah,
that makes sense. Liran, do you want to add your thoughts on this and then some of the news that you've got, like top line, and then we'll unpick those, the roundup of your week? Yeah,
I mean, to echo some of what Tim said, which I think are all good points, is that it's a good, outside of just thinking about Prime Day, it's a good opportunity to renegotiate with your Chinese suppliers or with any of your suppliers. I have a supplier that I met at the Canton Fair last year, and they actually they have a design team in Europe, but they manufacture, they own like 80% of a factory and they manufacture in China. And I reached out to them to place a reorder, and I said, hey, what can you do for me on terms right now? And they're like, man, we're so happy you're doing well with your product on Amazon. And because they sell to brick and mortar stores also in Europe, and like our sales are down because stores are closed. Like, yeah, we'd love to work with you. What kind of terms do you want? And by the way, we're also making masks if you want them.
I feel like every
so you didn't negotiate.
But just ask gloves and gowns.
Yeah, so his words were, he asked you, what terms do you want? Did you go in? What terms did you want? Did you go in for the kill or what? Was it like 60 days after landing or what?
Danny, of course I'm going in for the kill. I'm going to ask for here, and if I get here, that's okay, right? That's like
shoot for the stars, land on the moon, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's actually like Friday, and I've been thinking, I haven't sent them the email back, but the email back I'm going to send is exactly, I pay 30% deposit now, and I want to pay the rest 90 days after the goods arrive. Now, they may say, hey, that's too much. Okay, I'll pay you 30% now, I'll pay you 20% when the goods leave, and 60%, when the goods after 60, the rest after 60 days or something. I'll work something out, but they're super happy. One, that it's in the toy category, so product is selling pretty well on Amazon right now, and they're super happy they got sales because they sell to brick and mortar stores. So there's this coronavirus is giving a unique situation of opportunity to it's a unique situation of lots of opportunities in a lot of ways. One of which is, there's so much you can blame on the coronavirus, right? You could say you can use it in the opposite way. Like, my product's not selling well, but I don't have cash flow, but Q4 is coming in. I need to set up inventory. Will you, my supplier, work together with me to buy the inventory need? Or my competitors are going out of stock. This is time to take advantage. I normally place 5,000 units. Let's do 10,000 now. Will you work with me to do this together? And I think that approach could be really good right now to try to get terms from a supplier.
So could you see, obviously we're seeing a lot of behavioral changes. People have been at home, certain product sales are going up. Do you think we're going to see this is a new wave in China now where they're going to be more relaxed on payment terms, where it's always like unless you're a factory selling on Amazon or selling on these different marketplaces, they like their cash up front, right? They like it in there because the margins are tight. But now it seems like they're almost like a bank, you know?
I think two things.
Yeah.
Two things and a few points on this. One, I think there's always been payment terms, but I think third-party sellers, smaller sellers, have always been pretty poor at getting them.
Yes. Yeah.
They've always been terms. The big boys, right, that produce, Walmart and all these like big companies that produce in China always have terms. So it's always been a thing. But it's almost like the Chinese suppliers always had kind of the upper hand on the American seller and then just said no. And sellers have accepted it and not negotiated well, not had that skill set and not been aggressive enough, right? Because you feel like I'm too small, blah, blah, blah. So that's one. Two, I think, yes, there's opportunity for that. I think also there's more risk now for the U.S. Buyer that's buying from China because, again, I heard a sourcing company. I did a webinar. I was supposed to speak in Israel in April 6th, and instead it turned into a virtual webinar. And one of the other speakers was a sourcing company that has offices in China and this and that. And one of the things the guy warned about was be very careful sending money to China now, even to your good friend Yo-Yo, who you've been sending money to for the last 5 years. His factory might be in trouble, and they might just walk away with your money. So at the same time, you got to be careful sending the full amount right now. And if you can do things through trade assurance or some escrow or that, you might want to consider doing that. Again, you know, depending on your some factories are busier now and doing more business than ever. Others might not be. But just realize the other side of this is that you may not want to send all the money up front to China right now because their economy is hurting also. Yeah. And small factories might go out.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where like using trade assurance and stuff like that or some sort of escrow may be something that you want to implement. But the problem you got is it does break that trust. If you've got a good relationship and then you have to say to them, guys, look, I know we've been friends for 5 years and I went to your wedding and we've at the same restaurant together, etc. But I need to put escrow in place. That can sometimes cause a problem.
So instead go for terms, which is almost the same thing, right?
Yeah.
In a way, it may not be as good, but if you're only paying the 30% deposit and you're not paying the rest until you have proof, a bill of, you know, some kind of proof that it got on a boat or documents or something, then it's some kind of escrow also, you know, in a way. So things are changing. Use it to your advantage. I think this is the best time ever to get terms or negotiate better pricing.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, it brings in with Dan O'Donnell's up on the screen here, as you can see. He's doing which is the standard, the 30 and the 70 before it leaves the factory. But what would you shoot for, which would consider as reasonable for someone who's been working with a factory for 5 years?
Well,
I know you went for aggressive, but if
30/70 is pretty standard. I have another supplier that I have a 20% deposit, 60% when it leaves, and then another 20% 30 days later, for example. Yeah, super reasonable. I think you can get more. I think you can get more than that. I have another supplier that I have very flexible terms with 30% deposit, and like I just start paying him 90 days after, like every 2 weeks from my Amazon payouts, and like they're good. Yeah. They're a big factory, they can afford it, and they probably already covered their raw material costs, and they're good. So I think you need to start the conversation. Yeah. You know, and you really, you know, you should start the conversation even if you don't get the terms now. Even if you have a new supplier, you say, hey, I'm paying 30/70 for this order. This order of $10,000. My next order might be $25,000. What do you think? What do you think we can do, assuming that this is successful and my customers like the quality? You know, what do you think we can do? What will be on the second order? Get it before you commit to the first order, so you have the leverage in the relationship in holding the carrot on the first order, and what will they do for you on the second order? And then, you know, we've all probably heard these strategies of use good cop, bad cop. Like, hey, I'm the president of the company, but my board of directors, you know, right now they're only doing things with terms, and they kind of changed the rules on me, and I really need you to work with me because they're not really allowing me to buy. My head buyer or is not allowing me to buy unless we can work out some kind of better terms. And now it's like, now they're not negotiating with you anymore, and they can't. And it's not about your relationship. The fact that you went out drinking in China, well, you're not the only one that makes decisions in the company.
Yeah.
You got a board of directors. So you can that's a very good way to get out of that, like, you being the one making all the decisions.
Yeah. Tim, bring you in here. What's your take? What other things can people do to stretch terms with their factory? And the same question to follow up with Norm as well.
Yeah, and kind of like the good cop, bad cop thing, I think that you can leverage current events. Tell them, and most of the time this is true, tell your factories, hey, things are tough, but the opportunity is awesome. Like, I was out of inventory for 2 months, or I couldn't ship stuff in. Like, I'm a little bit cash poor right now, but here's some statistics showing e-commerce selling is going up. Like, get them excited about the opportunity, but help them realize that things are tough here too. And the truth is, a lot of them know that. Most of the Chinese suppliers and factory workers stuff that I have a relationship are checking on us constantly, because they see the headlines too. Hey, how are you? Hope your family's safe. Hope everything's good. Hope you're not going crazy in quarantine. So I reached out to a supplier, I don't know, a few days ago, and basically that's what I said is like, look, I've got a lot of product opportunities right now. I don't have enough cash to do all of it. And tell them, say, hey, a lot of the lending opportunities are gone. I used to use the Alibaba Pay Later. It was a cabbage thing subsidized through Alibaba, through Alipay. Great terms, and they shut it all down. I had like a $250,000 line of credit, and 2 weeks ago it disappeared. Now, there are other options like sellers funding and some people like that, but I use that to my advantage. Say, hey, you noticed that I used to pay you through this Alipay Pay Later, and it's not available anymore. What can you do to help me out? And a lot of what I'm seeing is where they're very upfront and honest. At least 2 suppliers, past couple weeks, have said, look, if you'll cover our material cost, we'll stretch you out on the rest. So what I've done is like 30% up front, another 30% when it lands in the U.S., and then the other 40% like 60 days later. And it's really, really great terms, and it's awesome. So I think that they understand that times are tough and we're all just kind of in this together. And I don't think that it's wrong to ask them like, hey, are you in a position where you can offer terms? Are you financially stable enough where you can help me out? Because sometimes they just won't tell you. When I first started going to China and started understanding their culture, I learned that money conversation is on the table. You can talk about it. Like, sometimes for those of you guys in China, they'll ask you like, well, how much money do you make? How much is your home worth? And they're not being nosy. Like, that's just normal conversation. Like, this is
how much is your home worth?
Yeah. Like,
by the way, Tim, it's a very un-American thing to talk about that, but across the world, like Israel, for example, people ask each other the same kind of questions. Like, in the West, I think, or in America, it's very taboo. But so it's okay to ask them, hey, do you have enough cash with your company where you can support me in terms? Because there's no use, beating a dead horse. If they say, look, we're struggling too, like, trust them on that, right? Because you don't just want to beat them up, because ultimately things change back and forth according to who has the most leverage. But the truth is, we need each other. I have felt for the past 2 or 3 years, honestly, that we needed our suppliers more than they needed us. That's why MOQs were going up, prices were going up, because they had so many offers coming in, right? So we had to be gentle. We couldn't beat them up too much, or they just stop answering my calls. Now we're in a position where we have a little more leverage. But remember, if we beat them up a little bit too much right now, it's going to hurt that relationship that we might need to be fostering. You've got
to have a bit of decorum. At the end of the day, for me, about doing business, you've got to leave some food on the table, right?
Yes.
If you just take that and the crumbs, then there isn't a relationship. It's got to be a win-win for both parties. Norm, what's your take?
Yeah, I similar to Tim. I'm just using this. I swing it back in their direction, and I just tell them, look, this is a situation we're in. The terms that we're using right now, let's say it is 70 or 30/70, can't work. I want to be able to promote my product. I want to be able to use what I would have in that cash flow. Like, I don't have the cash flow. By the time I pay you, I'm out 90 days. I want to be able to take that money and I want to put it into marketing dollars. Can you use terms? And you can start at 30 days, 60, 90. And we've been able to negotiate some 90 days out. So you might pay higher up front. So you might pay 30 or 40 or 50 or more, but you can end up with better terms. The other thing that we're doing is that we're buying more inventory. So we're telling them that, look, we're going to take 1,000 pieces and we're ordering 2,000. 1,000 pieces are going to come over to Amazon. Keep the other in stock. And we've had on about 3 or 4 locations or 3 or 4 occasions over the last few weeks, they've actually put the half of the other stock. So if you've got 1,000, or sorry, if you've got 2,000 and you're putting 1,000 into Amazon, 1,000 is there to ship at a later date. It's another way of doing it. So they store the product there for you in their warehouse. And then once you need it, like let's say it goes through the roof, you can either air it over or ship it over. They put the next run into production. So now you've got a real, like your inventory management is a lot more easy after the first go around.
Makes sense. Yep, I'm going to change it up slightly just because I'm going to answer some of the, if you guys can answer some of the questions in the feed. Yeah. So first up is Sama, just sitting in the shipment from China, got to Amazon in less than 10 days, but now the FC transfer, as of last night, has FC transfer been slower for you guys than normal? So what he's saying is obviously he's aired that in, and basically there's a delay between it becoming available online.
It's not surprising given the current circumstances.
Yeah. And that might be, you might get off this call, Sam, and it will clear anyway. You know, it's like, it's say this has been delayed or whatever, and then an email comes in like 10 minutes later and it's cleared. Right. Dan says, what are the typical or common terms I might shoot for, which I think we covered, 70-30. Oh, here we go. What might be reasonable shoot for a supplier? We've covered that one. Apologies. Then we've got here, oh yeah, what's your suggestion about variation versus separate listing? Some of my competitors sell the same product size variation separately rather than a variation. Some say it's better to list the color size variation separately because you'll get more impressions. Liran.
Well, this question has only been asked since the day Amazon started.
Yeah, it's a common question. Yeah,
classic question of more real estate versus more congregated reviews and traffic. I think the answer is it really depends on the listing and product. Yeah. If I sell a Yeti thing like this and I have it in 5 colors, to me that makes more sense to have it on one listing with the 5 colors. Sometimes people try to stuff things into variations that really shouldn't be there. I like the idea of taking advantage. If you have one thing that ranks really well and you can aggregate the reviews and the variations make sense, I like the customer having some choice to buy. But I'll give you an example. Met a guy last week. He sells. This is not a secret, or I'm not revealing anything here. He sells 5D diamond painting kits. Okay, I don't know if you know what these are. It's similar to like paint by numbers, but it's paint by these little color crafts. Okay, you take these little balls and you put them on things and you make different designs. And he had one listing and it had 15 different designs, an owl and a unicorn and And I told him he should separate it out because he's not taking full advantage of the titles and the SEO opportunity of getting traffic. And then if only one of them ranks, somebody only sees the owl ranking, but they don't see any of the other designs, right? Unless they click in. In that case, to me, it's a no-brainer that they should be separate. If you were selling one owl in a 12 by 12 and a 24 by 12 at different sizes, that would make sense to me as one. So I think you really need to think about it from the human psychology, customer behavior standpoint. What makes most sense? Is this something that makes sense where a customer would have choices, or or from an SEO keyword perspective and real estate perspective, does it make sense to be separated out?
Yeah. I feel like the answer is if it's related with keywords or if it uses different keywords. So like the Yeti cup, like you said, Laurent, it's still a Yeti cup, but a different size, a different color, or even a multi-pack, the keywords stay the same. But that bead thing, people are looking at the cat version or the unicorn version or the panda version. So if the keywords change, separate them. If it's size, bundle, color, keep them the same.
Cool. I have a product here now, but can't send it into FBA because Amazon are not taking the category at the moment. Do you recommend switching to FBM until they open back up the category and then change it back to FBA? Well, I think right now, by the time you try and do that, it's going to probably clear through. But that's the risk that you take, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, first of all, when is the last time you checked? Because literally every day now, Amazon is opening more products to be able to get sent in. So check again and make sure. And if it's just sitting and you can turn on FBM until it gets sent in, I see no downside in turning on FBM. And and again, also depending on what are you out of stock on FBA? Is it just shipping late? Like, what's the situation there? But if you have a 3PL or your own warehouse and you could ship out and turn on FBM, turn it on. The customers are not, Amazon in the last month has changed. I ordered knives that were supposed to come at the end of April. They already came, but I'm willing now my behavior as a customer and expectations have changed given the situation. I'm willing to order something and say, okay, I know it's not coming for 2 weeks, so screw it.
So you are on lockdown and you ordered knives. Is there anything we should read into that?
We're actually cooking at home.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so I think the customer expectation has changed. So I would turn on FBM. I'm sure, again, I don't have the data, but I'm 1,000% sure more customers today are willing to use FBA versus just Prime as opposed to, 2 months ago.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, go on.
I just wanted to add something about the parent-child question that came up.
Yes.
One of the deciding factors as well is price. So if you're selling a bar of soap at $10, it's different if you could sell a 3-pack or a 5-pack. So if you can sell something for $24.99 rather than $9.99, that's where I would also take in consideration keeping everything together. You can drive them in with the $10.99 and then sell them at the $24 or the $45 package of soap.
Cool.
And so what are you saying, Norm, that you should have those on the same listing in that case?
Yeah, on the same listing. When it comes down to
like an upsell.
price, yeah. So and it also depends on what you're doing and how you're doing your launch strategy, right? So you can give the 1 bar away or use a rebate, and then get them onto your listing, and then you can sell them up to the 3-pack or the 5-pack, because who wants 1 bar?
Right, it's like an upsell. For a second, I thought you were going to give me advice on how to stay sane with my 6-year-old daughter at home. On the parent-child relationship.
So why should I be worried about placing order? Right, this is from earlier on. We were talking about dealing with a partner for 5 years. The idea is that if the factories are hurting, working on a very tight margin, they may not have cash flow and they might take your payment, and within all the will in the world, they may go under and take your payment with it.
I'm not trying to put fear in you on like, hey, I can't work with this supplier anymore. I'm just saying, like, look, if you've seen the factory or if you've been there and it's a big factory, or if it's a kind of product that's probably doing pretty well right now, probably don't have much to worry about. But super small factory, or you're dealing with a trading I don't know, trading companies could be big too. But just realize that if it's a very small operation and the economy is bad and it's a kind of product that's not super hot right now, they could not be doing as well as they've done because of the economy in China and the global economy. And think about a factory that's producing awnings for brick and mortar stores. I imagine awnings for brick and mortar stores are not much in demand globally right now, right? And so that factory is probably hurting. And so if you're dealing with a factory that's hurting, maybe they're on the verge of going out of business and they take your order, and because they know you're there in China and you're in America, that like they got to do what they got to do. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case, but just keep it in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and I don't think Laurent is saying that's a malicious thing, but it might be a desperation thing. And I think it's a very, very small percentage of factories that will happen to. But think about any business here. Like, I know people who got too deep in products that sucked on Amazon, but they had a lot of revenue. They're going through a divorce. They're up for bankruptcy. They owe the IRS $100,000, and they take an Amazon loan and dip out. Like, they know it's not the right thing to do, but they're literally on their knees, like in desperation, don't know what else to do. So I think it's extremely, extremely rare. But also remember that a lot of times you're not talking to the owner of the factory. You're talking to a salesperson that typically speaks English, or you're talking to a trading company, and the trading company doesn't understand the financial problems that the factory's having. And so you might pay the trading company pay the factory, and then it dips out. So you can't always see with complete crystal clarity. We just have to understand that right now there are a lot of factories, a lot of companies, a lot of people, I guess, globally that are beginning to get in some desperate financial times. So just keep an eye out. I would say don't expect it to happen, but keep an eye out for red flags. Would that be a fair assessment, Laurent? Like
yeah.
If something smells a little bit weird, like they've always acted a certain way after 5 years and now they're doing things a little bit differently, like asking for 80% up front or something like that, like I would start to question a little bit, you know.
This guy that spoke, you know, it's a company based in Israel that has people on the ground in China and sourcing and all that. And he was definitely instilling more fear than I am in this. He was like, guys, the game has changed. Like, China's economy is not good right now. Be very careful. So again, I don't know that that's to that extent, but this was somebody who, you know, I think has more firsthand experience at what's going on within China right now. So I'm just relaying that, and you know, use your best judgment, and you know, if you can get terms, or if you only make a deposit and you don't send the other money until you see some document that the item shipped, or talk to your freight forwarder that they've arranged something, you're going to be in a better position, and maybe you won't lose money or as much as a result.
Yep.
Cool. Ben Valent said, which is quite interesting, going back to keywords, some categories force the title down from the parent, and this can mean variations may not work when you need different keywords in child listings. Can be a massive pain in the butt.
And the reason why that is, if you think about it from an Amazon standpoint, is because Amazon does expect those variations to be the same across the board, right? You talk about like the clothing category, for example, right? The clothing category, Amazon expects that all it is colors and sizes. So you shouldn't be able to put a unicorn pajama with an owl pajama in the same listing, technically, according to Amazon. Some people do that, but it might not be best for your keyword strategy.
Yeah, makes sense. Dan O'Donnell, Tim, do you wear the Trojan helmet whilst negotiating for terms on Skype?
I'm not sure what the Chinese people would think of that. I suspect that my sense of humor in fact, I know for sure my sense of humor does not translate well to Chinese. So.
You know, Dan, you bring up a good point here, because throughout this whole Facebook Live here, I've had background envy. You know, Danny's got that cool soundings in the back. Norm's got a ship. You know, ship.
Norm, did you build that ship yourself?
That's a long story. Absolutely not. But
oh man, I was hoping for yes.
You know, Tim's got the whole medieval army and the global map there, mapping out world domination in the back, and some kind of odd, maybe chiropractor chair over there in the back. So
it's one of those fancy, bougie camel leather chairs that looks more comfortable than it really is.
And you know, all I have is a window.
A window represents freedom. A window. There could literally be anything out there.
It could be.
Cool. Here's one, Adriana. Liran, I'll give this one to you as well. Hi, thanks for your amazing content from niches that have been hit hard, such as party decorations that have delivery dates extended by 3 weeks. Do you think Amazon will help out by waiving storage fees? No, for another 15 days. And ACOS is through the roof because people are clicking and obviously waiting for estimated delivery time. We had this. I'm sure you have the same thing with the agency. What's your strategy when?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, conversion rate is down. Then you need to change your strategy. You probably want to pull back on your ad spend.
Yeah.
Pull back on your bids. And, you know, if people aren't buying the product right now, then it doesn't make sense to really, you know, push.
Advertise it, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to advertise. I would probably pull back budget, pull back bids. I don't know that I would completely cut advertising. You know, you have potential effect on your ranking, etc.
But what you got to realize, as you know, is that it's everyone. It's not like suddenly you pull back on your ads and then the other person's going to be successful because they're going to deal with the same shit, right?
Yeah,
no, they're going to have the same problem. People are going to click, look, and see delivery delay time.
Now, think about how you can solve the problem, though, right? If the delivery times are 3 weeks out, well, can you turn on FBM and get delivery time a week out? You know, have you tested lowering your price as to entice somebody and knowing that this is a better than typical price to increase your conversions? Like, don't just ask yourself, you know, like, don't just deal with the problem. Is there a potential solution? And maybe part of the solution is also, it doesn't make sense for me to waste money on clicks when I'm not getting conversions.
Yeah. Totally. The other thing to be aware of as well, we noticed this the other day, that some people were, and I think this is based on facility center, depends on where you are geographically in IP. It may say that it's 3 weeks to delivery time, but then it might say 3 days shipping or 7 days. And I think that if you can do it where you can go state by state, have a look to see if there is variance, because you might be looking at it on a global level and see it's the 3-week lead time. When actual fact, if you've got something, there's some stock that's say in New York instead of LA, the New York stock might get there in a few days. But yeah, it's a lot of fiddling, but you can kind of get an idea of it.
And also business accounts are being shown faster. So if you log in on a business account, like my business has a business account and my personal one, and it shows different times business accounts much faster. And this is important because there's a lot of people that freaked out initially when the delivery time was 30 days. And they were like, oh crap, I'm going to remove all my inventory and do FBM. Like, don't do that. Maybe if you're insisting on FBM, maybe do half of it. But even the people that have split their inventory, they're getting a lot of FBA sales still for those really local customers or the business customers. So don't completely give up on it yet, because some people are offered different times.
And I don't know even if Amazon is allowing removals either.
Well, they do, but they pulled it back. They said there was delayed 2 weeks ago because a lot of people went in to do removal orders.
Right.
So, and I think they may have stopped in some cases for certain categories, but they did say there was a warning that will be a delay. Cara said, have you seen that Amazon is pulling its own shipping service in the US in June?
Yeah, they came out and said that they were going to cut off they were going to cut off FedEx and go more forward with like their own shipping service, and they pulled back on that a little bit. I think because that's not their focus right now. They need to rely on the other shipping options, and I think just on their own logistics and infrastructure. It's been interesting. Amazon stock has just hit, I think, its highest point of where it's been. Amazon has benefited so much from this, and I think if you're in the essentials, any essential product category, food, whatever, there will be a new normal of increased buying after this, because the person who just bought their flour on Amazon for the first time is kind of going to like that, right? And like, maybe I don't need to go to my local, Kroger's or whatever when this is over. I think there'll be a lot of buying behavior if you happen to be in one of those categories. I don't know that the demand will be the 100x that it is now, but I think there will be a new baseline for certain categories that will just have the sustained growth in because of new buying behavior, right? Like people who bought supplements at their local Whole Foods might, and kind of switched to buying it on Amazon. That buying behavior will stay the same. So, I think the perspective on this is if you're in e-commerce, consider yourself lucky because it's the one area in the economy that actually may come out really strong, outside of this. Yeah.
Like you said, go on, sorry, Tim.
Well, I was going to give that data. So, by the way, Danny, Ricardo says hello. I was just texting him.
Danny Ricardo, by the way, told me, say hello.
Thanks, Ricardo. Nice. Yeah.
Ricardo's the CEO of Sellers Funding, and they have they offer loans using APIs, right? So they pull API data to see average revenue and stuff off their customers. And he sent me a message yesterday it was a graph showing that all of their customers that do 50,000 or more a month, so we're not talking about brand new customers, on an average across all platforms, Amazon, eBay, and Shopify, they're up 63% this Q1 over last year's Q1. Okay, so think about that. Think about all the people that actually can't send inventory in and their sales are less. That means that the actual demand in people with inventory and are selling so much, it's still keeping the average of 63%. So when it seems like doom and gloom and the sky is falling and all this stuff, to Laurent's point, thank God we're not in the brick and mortar gift shop business. Thank God I don't have a massage parlor. They're shut down. I happen to be in e-commerce, and it's the one sector that's blowing up. It's not coincidence that Amazon's valuation just hit 1.1 trillion. And the truth is the world is changing and people are adopting e-commerce, and it's not going to drop again. People that have never had an Amazon account are opening Amazon accounts. And guess what? They're getting used to it. They're going to realize how freaking awesome this is, right? This is not just a short bubble. This is an earth-altering dynamic shift in the way people will shop forever.
And,
right?
and it may not last just another month or two, right? They're depending on all the predictions and everything you see. Some people are saying, the country's going to open up a little bit, but then there's going to be a little bit more of the virus spikes and it's going to close up again. And you may see this being the new normal for 18 months until there's a vaccine, right? That's going to be the real, maybe ending of this issue. But you may see social distancing, and you may see, new behavior. So you're uniquely positioned. But think about your product selection for the next 12 months on if this is the new normal. What are the at-home fitness products, at-home cooking products, homeschooling products,
the boredom stuff.
What's
like
that?
The boredom stuff, like terrariums and
but increase in sex toys. Hey, just saying. But yeah, the boredom kind of stuff, the puzzles, the toys, the crafts, the STEM stuff, so many opportunities to get into products. Now, again, there may be a lot of other people thinking the same as you, so realize that too, and differentiate and do all the things you should be doing. But think about what the new normal might be, and I think in any business, if you have a good sense of what's 6 months ahead and you can jump in front of that before some other people do, then you could be uniquely positioned. And the other thing is diversification, right? If you had diversification in product set, you're in a really good position, right? If you only sold jewelry right now, you're probably not in a great position, because people aren't going out, not going to parties, they're not, right? If you only sold makeup, well, maybe people are not buying as much makeup. They have no place to go. I didn't put my makeup on today.
I didn't either.
But if you were diversified, right? If you had a little bit of a diversified set of products, even within a single brand, then you were in a better situation, because maybe some of your stuff is up and some of your stuff is down. So the thing is that I guarantee this will not be the only crisis we face in the next decade. So look at the situation, how you can be better prepared for the next one.
Yeah. Do you think, because of obviously the possibility of a reoccurrence, we might use social distancing? They're saying that's happened in China as well. If we open the doors a bit too soon, Christmas, we could be all back indoors again. So I think, like you said, without a vaccine, there may be a problem. It's all going to be about timing and how well the countries deal with what's going on. So with that in mind, going over to Norm, what do you think in terms of what people should be thinking about over the next 12 months in case of a reoccurrence, and they do sell non-essential items? Where should they diversify? What should they do?
I always like brown bag products. So, people don't want to go to the store anyways to get them. But
what's the brown bag product, Norm?
Toe wart remover.
Right.
That's one, right? So, and that's actually one of the products. People don't want to go to the store for them. Adult diapers, but it doesn't even have to be like that. It could be
Piles cream and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it could be other things too, like low dollar. Another product that we're doing are chair glides. It's something that people use, and actually, people need them unless they want to scratch up their floor. But it's all these little things. These they're not sexy products. But the other thing you have to really remember, so let's get off the products. One of the things that you have to remember is your inventory strategy, like we were talking about before. What happens, like even right now, manufacturing was stopped for a month or, month or two, month and a half. What's that going to happen? What's happening for next quarter? What's going to happen to the dollar store? What's going to happen to those, a shoe store, your local shoe store? They're probably not going to have inventory. So you have to take a look at what those items are that people are going to need. And you probably might want to look at your shipping, but flying some product over, like for the fourth quarter, for sure. I'd have everything, my ducks in a row for fourth quarter, start planning right away. And then if it's 12 months out, I'd be prepared. I'd have some inventory in my warehouse, always now, always. I've been preaching this forever. You want to make sure that you do separate just in case times like this happen, and that you have that rotation going, like I was talking about. So it's easy to get product in instead of waiting and sitting back and this, we can get it over very quickly in 3 weeks. I can put it in my into my warehouse, and I can do FBM if I need to. And that's kind of where I'm looking at it. And I wouldn't I would negotiate again, going back. We talked about that at the beginning, so you can have extra.
I definitely say, going forward, any other product that I source moving forward, it's always going to be a consumable. It may not be a necessity because I don't diversify off of Amazon, but if I did, then I know that if I needed to market and my customer acquisition costs, I'm not going to nail it. My CAC score is not going to be good for that. I'm going to need long-term value of a customer depending on the price point. So I'd always say to people, if you can find something, whether that's a beauty product, whether that's food, some sort of perishable goods, it's definitely a way forward.
And Danny, as we're talking about products, I'm thinking about pet category, right? I heard numbers in the U.S. about all this increase in people like adopting dogs right now, right? Because they're alone and you're not going to get the coronavirus by adopting a dog. So like people, so there's probably all this increased demand for certain pet products, right? Like certain categories are going to really benefit from this. And if you adopted a pet today, you're going to need to buy dog food today, and you're going to need to buy dog food a year from now, right? So there is going to be, I think, increased demand in a variety of categories. But I think
I did play around with dog food about 5 years ago in the food category. It was a fucking disaster. It's a story for another day, but it'll be a funny one.
I want to hear. We should have disaster product Facebook Live.
Let's do that. I've got a stack we can go through.
Disaster products, man.
Yeah.
Like quick story. One year I launched. You got one too, Tim?
Oh man, listen. I've got like a whole
next Wednesday show dedicated to fucked up products, and the stories. Yeah.
What is that?
It's one of those things that turns carrot into noodle.
Yes. Hey, everybody needs one of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, someone put their finger in it and shredded their finger and threatened to sue me. So that's not good.
I launched a pool float one summer and did an inspection, but I didn't know that you needed to, in the inspection process, you really needed to let them sit for 24 hours and then come back, blow them up and then come back. We didn't do that. We did a regular inspection and then brought them in, and man, we started selling really well. Then the reviews started coming, and there were very sad pictures in the reviews of swans that were dead in people's pool. After a day, they blew up. But the funny part was the pictures of the dead lying swans right next to the pool, and it was a disaster. And it was too bad because good niche. We started selling well. The good thing is we sold through about half. Not all got returned or whatever before the really bad reviews started coming in. So it wasn't, But we had already put a 30% deposit on the new order, and we just gave that up. But yeah, we should, people
next Wednesday show, right? Instead of a Roundup Wednesday, let's pull out some of our best guns, our worst product disasters, and share the story.
People need to know that, hey, like it's gonna, if you didn't take enough risk if you didn't have product disaster stories in your business, that you could be, Danny McMillan or Tim Jordan or Norm or anybody in this space that gets up on stage and talks somewhere and still have major failures, and that's part of business.
Yeah, it's all part of the business.
And you should hear, and it'll be fun to talk about disaster stories.
Yes. Okay, quick one is just slight change, and that maybe someone could answer some of these as well, especially participants in the audience here. Celeste made a good point here, is I'm seeing chat that makeup is not snapping back. A lot of people are enjoying not bothering with it. So obviously in lockdown, they're not necessarily putting makeup on the day-to-day. And ones like lipstick, under masks, that is not happening, of course, because people are wearing masks. Some women are dumping their whole makeup case because they see it as germy and old and risky.
Short-term issue.
They may buy a whole new brand new set, which is interesting. It goes back round to behavioural changes as well. Like obviously women want to necessarily present themselves in the best light. They go out and they put makeup on. Now they're at home. They are reducing the use of those products. Obviously that's also good on their skin as well, because they're not obviously, I think, a woman a year generally absorbs about half a pound of material or so, because your skin's another layer of absorption, right? So this is obviously,
you know a lot about this topic, Danny.
Yeah. My wife used to be like a makeup artist as well. So yeah. Sorry guys about the no makeup thing. Celeste, no, it's fine. It's a good subject, but we're going back to we're talking about maybe a wider beauty category, because I'm in the beauty category as well, and it's a non-essential item, it makes some valid points there. You start to think, because what is it about this virus? You don't want to touch your face, right? So you may look at stuff because you're constantly cleaning all the time. You might go, I ain't going to touch that again because I don't know the last time I touched that, and I'm not going to spray that stuff down with an anti-germ, right? Because then put that on your skin, because obviously that's all sorts.
I think that's a short-term issue. People will go out again, and our society is very vain. So I think people will go out again and wear plenty of makeup again. But yeah, if you're not getting up and going, if you're used to putting on makeup every day or out to dinner or to the office or whatever, and you're not doing that right now, then there's going to be less demand.
Yeah. So Norm, do you still wear makeup, or?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
But this is the perfect category to use Amazon posts.
Go on. Yeah, let's talk about Amazon posts. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a lovely segue, by the way. I like the way you did that. Yeah, let's do it.
Get the heat off of my makeup. And so with Amazon posts, you're going to back by minute. So if you're in that category, in the niche, what can you do? Well, put out Amazon posts. You can actually address some of the issues. You can, and talk about your product, or if it's a natural product, you can show, you can show the lifestyle images. You can, with the Amazon post, I don't know if people realize this, but when you start to post on a regular basis and you get the highest converting post, those ones are the ones that show first under your competitor. So it's free advertising, no cost at all right now. You don't have to charge, I would always recommend PPC. And then the Amazon post will just be in front of people's faces. And, when they do go and search, you're going to see on your page, you're going to see it right under questions or above questions, Amazon post. This is on a mobile app, by the way. And then under reviews, it's going to be all the competitors that are taking advantage of Amazon posts right now. And I can tell you that knives, we talked about this before, Leon, that in the knives, we're working with a group, and the average after 3 days, and we go out, because it's on competitor site, we're getting about 20,000 views on average, impressions. However, the click-through rate is really low. We've had 200,000 views on one post in 3 days at our highest, but the click-through rate, you might get, 0.1, 0.2, very low. But the people that go through, because it's 3 or 4 clicks, guess what they're doing? They're buying. So you turn, and it only turns into a click once they go onto your listing, from show more product to listing. And so that could really bring up your conversion rates.
And for those that don't know, I think Norm's talking about the Amazon Post Beta.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Which is available in the US in selected accounts.
Yeah. So which is under, you can Google Amazon Post. It's under advertising, but it's free, and it's a great way to get traffic. One of the things that I saw when I first started with it was that posts that were images that just had white background versus images that looked more like social media type posts. Social media type posts performed better, got more visibility and more clicks than just a white background of your product.
Makes sense. Just quickly, just going back here, we've got Elizabeth says, I bet there's an uptick in skincare products, though. I just know that I just ordered a bunch more skincare products because I have more time and more extensive beauty routine. Good point there. Tim says, we sell men's grooming products and it's been better than I originally thought. Lots of quarantine beards and moustaches being grown. Get that beard balm and wax out, my friend. Cool. Right, we're coming up to the hour mark. Is there anything else you guys want to cover before we go? Don't all jump in at once. Right. So, Norm, can you tell everyone about the good deed that you want to do for companies that are helping in the pandemic, what you're doing for your company?
Preach about PR Reach.
Yeah. Tell them.
Reach. Yeah. Okay, so what we're doing is any individual, company, organization, government agency, anybody who's doing something, donating masks, having a fundraiser, we're doing free press release distribution. So if you've got something going on, if you're donating, if you're doing, this is happening in Miami, by the way, a push-up marathon where they're donating the cash to get masks. we'll do it for free. It's our premium service, so it's our $300 service that we'll send it out. The other thing that we're doing, and we started to do this last week, was those incredible individuals that are doing things like there's this 12-year-old kid that's making surgical masks out of 3D printing. Really cool. There's people that are delivering to senior citizens home food in New York. Those are the people that we want to know about. It might not be something that you're doing or have anything to do with. You might see them on social media. We want to write about them, and we'll write a press release about them just so we can give them more exposure.
Beautiful. Norm.
And I'll say, shout out, I've been using PR Reach now for, Norm, a year? I started getting involved with you guys, and it works. So you guys don't take this lightly. If you have any kind of hook where Norm will hook you up for free, there's some really strong SEO power in there and some brandability power. So take advantage of that.
Levan, do you want to let them know about your mastermind group that you've been doing with Mr. Moran?
There will be more information coming soon. I know that's cryptic, but some things are changing. So I'll leave it at that. But follow me on my Facebook wall, or my best content or up to date content about what I'm posting in the Amazon world.
All I request, Laurent, is next time you do a mastermind, can you at least partner with someone that has a little bit of notoriety?
Yeah, I may go to Bill Gates next, or somebody a little bit less known.
Yeah. And Tim, what about you? Apart from wearing shorts and shoes in your Helium 10 videos, what's going on with you?
Man, all sorts of stuff. Just selling products, doing a little bit of coaching myself, and of course working as a strategist and a consultant with several companies in the industry. I'll tell you guys what. There's some crazy stuff going on in the industry. It's going to be an amazing year for e-commerce. A lot of the big industry, like services providers of stuff that we use every day, are doing some things that are mind blowing when it comes to making things accessible to us. Like we just saw Helium 10 launched portals, which is the first time that like a Amazon centric software company really was thinking about like moving traffic even off of Amazon. Like that's just a little hint of things to come that I'm seeing from a lot of different companies. So y'all get ready. 2020 is going to be a crazy year, and I think it's going to be a huge year of growth, even though it's kind of started off as a little bit of a dumpster fire.
Because so far it's been a very boring kind of a year. It hasn't been crazy at all.
Exactly. I posted once, I said, I think the people that ran Fire Festival are running 2020.
Yeah, most definitely. Guys, it's been lovely to see you. We'll come back here as I promised. Next Wednesday, we'll do product failures, and have a bit of fun next Wednesday. Levan, I'm going to see you on Sunday for Mindset Sunday. We're going to do mental health, which is good. Tomorrow, we're going to do a special on Shopify. Going to make that 2 or 3-parter. Friday, we've got Kevin King in, and Saturday will be part 5 of our Women on Amazon.
Danny, guys, you're rocking and rolling, man, with this podcast and shows. It's awesome. I think what you're doing, going daily now, like really.
I've just got to stick to it. I've managed to do every day, I think, for about. I've lost count. I'm not even going to bother counting the days. But I said until lockdown's over, I'm going 7 days. So I'm doing my best to do that. Gentlemen, farewell again. Thank you for gracefully giving up your time, guys. Thank you to everyone in the group who shares this. I hope you've been enjoying it, and thanks. Stay safe, stay home, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. UK and whatever time that translates to around the world. Much love. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.
Boom.